Karel.
Aloha.
That's a really cool backdrop that you put behind your computer.
Yeah. I just bought it at Walmart and just set it up there. So it kind of looks like ocean and palm trees and kind of the island vibe. Yep.
Yeah. So you're in Kona supporting Roman, which is awesome. And we thought it would be a really good idea to talk about some of the bike technology since that's a big hype around Kona. And since you're there and you can see and feel and look at the bikes, I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. My
Sure.
first question is non bike related. How does it feel to be in Kona for the first time since 2019?
Yeah. Wow. It's been that long. It's 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years since we both were in this island and raced together. It it feels different and it feels the same. Like as soon as I got off the plane and Kona is such a small airport and you have to step off the plane onto the tarmac, you immediately smell that that salty air. You can smell the flowers, you hear the birds, and just kind of feel the warmth. So that's the same. And I was just kind of wondering about it because I was getting down to touch down with the plane. I was like, I wonder if it still smells the same, and it does. It
Yeah.
does. It just kind of makes you happy. So that was good. And the vibe here on the island is just it's a lot more. Of course, it's all the dudes are everywhere. A lot more male presence here, but you can still see females. As they are here to support their significant others or friends. And like when you go to Expo or you go to the pier and along the village, it's still very very busy.
Yeah.
The traffic on the island is insane, like insane. Like to get somewhere in the car, it's pretty difficult. This is the first time that I stay a little bit further away from everything. So we are about 4 or 5 miles down the Ali Drive, and it's just kind of like the typical tourist vibe. And
Mhm.
then as you get closer to the Kailua Kona and to the pier, of course, you see more and more guys running shirtless with heart rate monitors and just up and down the Ali Drive and basically everywhere.
Yeah.
As far as like going on the bike course or riding the bike, I told Roman and the other guys from Czech that they are here that the best thing is to just drive past the energy lab, and then just park there because then the roads are a little bit cleaner, less worry about the flat tires and other things that may happen in town or any accidents because it's really busy and the roads are really dirty in town. It's the locals are not really stoked about Iron being here, so they throw a lot of bottles. There's a lot of glass on the ground, so that's that. But then when you kind of pass that point on the energy lap and on the way to Hawi, it's the bike lane or the side of the road is really wide and it's clean and you can just ride. And of course you see people everywhere and it seems like everybody's super fit and everybody's super fast and you see how the guys are flexing the muscles. So like nobody goes slow. So it'll be interesting to see some of the blowouts in the race, how people just they get here to this island and basically they log the biggest training amount in a week before the race that they've done in like the past several months, just
Yeah.
because you get sucked in, you see everybody everywhere and you want to do it too. So it's been interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
same old, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting place because if you're ever lacking motivation to work out, just go to Kona during race week and you'll instantly be motivated to do way too much.
yeah. And also you can it can kind of work the other way, that if you want to feel really down on yourself, how unfit you are, then you see like everybody is passing you on the bike and it's like, why is everybody so fast, and uh, just yesterday as I was kind of just biking home on Ali Drive and I saw Blumenfeld and Eden, they were just kind of jogging in like a neutral clothes, so nobody kind of bothers them, but of course you can recognize them, and they were running easy. And then you see all these age groupers running 10 times as fast, or so much faster, like the guys who should be running slower than them, and they're running so much faster, exposing all the skin to the sun, and
Yeah.
just
I
silly
I
things like that.
I did, I'm glad you brought that up because I was looking at Strava when after I watched one of Lionel's videos and I was looking to see a run that they did. So I was going through like Blumenfeld and Eden's Strava. And I was so surprised to see how much, I mean, these guys are running sub 5:30s off the bike for a marathon, or sub 6 minutes easily off the bike. And then they're running 8-minute miles for
Mhm.
their easy runs. And that's
That's
like,
right. Jogging. Yeah.
it's a huge discrepancy. So like
Yeah.
they really do take their easy sessions easy.
Yeah. This morning I saw Ditlev running. First I saw him on the bike and then just kind of shake out run. He was just running with somebody else, just kind of chatting and just jogging. And then the contrast when you see any of the age groupers, they just lay it out there. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's the day right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot has changed on the bike in the bike industry since we were there in 2019. I remember when the hype was about the UFO chain and everybody was getting that. And what do you think are some of the significant improvements that we have seen over the past 5 years with the bike?
Well, it's definitely the position on the bike changed a lot, quite a bit, and that's kind of like the like people really pay a lot more focus on the aerodynamics, and they actually, the professionals, they keep testing it and just kind of playing with it, and then the edge groupers start copying, and so it's kind of like it's a lot more aftermarket parts in terms of the cockpit setup and the bike setup, the bottle setup, and all that. As far as like you mentioned, the UFO chain, which is the ceramic speed coated chain, uh, the ceramic speed boot, it's still here, but it's not as busy. And the
Mm.
reason I think is just because back then it was kind of like still the niche, and people like saw it here and got easily swung to like, hey, it'll make you faster. But now it's basically everybody has it. So you already arrive with your ceramic speed, oversized pulleys and bottom brackets and bearings and wax chain. So it's nothing that spectacular and new. So the boot, like I was just talking to our friend Rachel, who used to work in for Ventum, and now she works for them, and they were just there killing time. There was nobody there. And if
Wow.
you remember last time, like people could not get their bikes in. It just
No, it was
basically like
so busy.
sold out for the day. Cannot do anything else. Now they just kind of kicking back, killing the time, and waiting for the day to be over so they can pack it and go home. So that's the biggest difference, that a lot of uh, athletes, and talking about edge group athletes, they just have it all. Especially like they're going to Kona, so of course they will tech up the bikes the best they can. So they already have it.
Hmm.
And specifically for the UFO chain, it's just kind of funny thing, and I'm sure everybody can follow and watch the videos on YouTube from different sources from Kona, and you see like uh, Sam Laidlow, he doesn't even have the UFO chain on his bike because the original coded UFO chain it's not long enough for his huge chain ring. So that's another thing you asked, what changed. That the some of the changes are that the guys, of course, the bike splits are getting faster and faster. The guys are faster because of the technology. They are stronger, and they can run gears that like I can't even like phantom. Like Ditlev and Sam Laidlow have 64 chain rings, like one by, and it's humongous. It's basically like there's a little crank arm left past that huge plate. It's a huge gear, and like historically in the last several years the winds were not as bad, and you can just like just lay it out, and especially some of those like those downhill segments, you can just really like get on the gas if you are one of them have that
Yeah.
capacity to do that. You can just lay down and ride. And the biggest advantage of these big chainring is that they can stay more towards the middle of the sprocket on the rear, so the chain is not crossing as much. It's less tension on the chain and less friction, so it's smoother chain line. But of course you need to have the legs to also power up some of those uphill segments.
And you can't buy that in the expo booth.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen anybody selling some extra legs. Yeah.
And how about things like bottle placements and wheels and
Yeah.
tires?
Yeah, so I'm sure you can see from, like I said, the multiple sources of the channels that present the bikes and setups and all that. So yeah, the bottle placement is the biggest thing. Everybody plays with the bottle placement, where what to do and where to put it. And interesting is that Gustav Iden, he was the one who introduced the bottle in the jersey. He did it here first time, and it was premeditated. They tested it, and he was, really fast in the wind tunnel. So he did it, but didn't talk about it. And then still, like after a race, I was like, his interview, yeah, I just kind of ran with the bottle out of T2 or T1 and didn't know where to put it, so I just put it in the jersey. And
Yeah.
now we know it was not true. It was premeditated. So again, he has something revolutionary new. He has two bottles in the front, kind of side, so he uses it long, extended arm Superman position, and just to kind of fill up this gap right here. So we have two bottles there under each armpit, pretty much. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it translates to what we will see in the age group on the age group bikes next year. Because after that first year bottle in the jersey, everybody were using bottle in the jersey. Now you cannot use it. Ironman banned that. So what everybody's doing, they have all kinds of modifications on the bike, different brackets and system of brackets that they basically are able to place the bottle and the cage directly underneath the torso, which for this course it's okay, but for a course like Nice, for example, where there are some descents where you need to get in the base bars and get low, you can't do that because the bottle it's in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like that's some of the differences. Another kind of thing that I see here, it's all the major players. Pretty much nobody uses the typical bottle with the straw. Some of them they have they have some hydration in the bike, so they have the straw. But as far as the bottles, they are just typical bottles, typical cages, and the bottles. And it's something that we always preach that it's better to have a bottle than like keep sucking from that small bottle with the straw, and potentially have some issues. And it's a lot easier to rotate the bottle. So that's what you see on all the major player bikes. Nobody has the X Lab or Profile or whatever straw. Everybody has typical cages, and just the placement, varies and what they believe it's the fastest. And Magnus, he has a 3 bottle system on the back, but behind his saddle, and that's kind of like the thing of now. The
Mm-hmm.
bottle placement, all the bottles in the world, where you put them.
Yeah.
And you have to think about it when you add too much of the weight to the front end, it'll affect the handling and steering. So we'll see what kind of weather will be here uh, tomorrow. It seems like so when I got here, the winds were pretty strong. Then it kind of died down, and now it's just kind of medium, nothing too crazy. So that might be fine. But somebody who doesn't have the skills and see the pro setup say, I'm going to do that. I'm gonna put all the bottles there in the front, 3 bottles, 2 bottles, whatever. And they get on a bike and you have this extra weight, and then the wind push you and just like flip your handlebars and you go down.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing goes for those uh, position on the bike. So like the Superman position that you see the Norwegians, it's extremely difficult to handle the bike. And in one of the interviews, even Gustav Eden said that they hope that it's not going to be as windy as it was when they
Mm-hmm.
got here to the island, just because it was too windy and they were not even able to be in the aero bars.
Yeah.
They have to a lot of segments. You remember from the past, like how the end of the quinque, like you are holding the bike, for the base bars, and just like praying for being able to stay on the bike, how bad it was. So if you extend so much to the Superman position, it's extremely unstable. It's very aero, and we know that because in '90s Chris Borman set all the world records using this Superman position. So him and Graham Aubrey, it's super fast, but it's very difficult to handle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing to consider. Same thing with like you ask about a wheel choice and stuff. So to me, it is silly that this race and Cozumel are still like the 2 races that they don't allow disc wheels in the back. I mean, that's a rule from '80s where the bikes were extremely unstable and people didn't know how to handle those bikes. The tires were tiny 19 millimeter tubular tires, pump up to 120, 130 psi. The bikes were just bouncing on the road. But now we are in 2024. The bikes are more stable. The bike technology, everything evolved. You have wider tires, going wider and wider, and lower pressure, and everything sits on the road so much better. I don't see a reason why not let at least the professionals use the disc wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you see some of the riders using these, almost discs.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a disc, and then there's this piece of the spoke. So, haha, it's not a disc wheel.
Yeah.
Well, you may as well just have a full disc wheel. So it's kind of like it's absolutely useless wheel.
Yeah.
It has no use for anything, but they just made it because of the situation in Kona.
Yeah.
So they may just say, okay, you can use whatever you want if you can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to touch on the bottles. We have to keep in mind that these guys are riding around 4 hours. And
Yeah.
so like if when that's hard to say, well, why would they put 4 bottles on their bike? Well, they're bringing everything that they need. So, that's busting a myth like, well, we don't want our bike too heavy by bringing too much fluid. Well, then you also have to weigh the cons of, well, if I rely on the aid stations, I'm now going to have to slow down at the aid stations. I'm going to miss the group that I'm in. There's also the risk of crashing. So these guys aren't stopping or
Yeah,
slowing down.
yeah, and they will, like, the top guys will not be using, the professionals, they will not be using even the special needs on the bike.
No, they're going
They
to
have
carry
everything they
everything with
need
them.
for the ride with them, and they are not missing the train, that they are with, or they are not, losing the time there. And really, the extra weight is no effect on this type of the course. It's not
Especially
like
with
you
the
are.
heat and you're drinking so fast.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, the aerodynamics and the luxury of having everything you need with you, it trumps any extra weight.
Yeah. And nobody's relying on course nutrition. They've got their nutrition dialed in,
Yeah,
except for
yeah.
maybe Lionel. All right. When we kind of touched on this, so I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, but I had the question when it comes to making a bike course specific. So we had the women were in Nice, the men were in Nice last year, which is very mountainous, and then we have Kona. Although it is a hilly course, it's also a fast course. It all depends on the wind. So you kind of talked about the one by drivetrain that we know that in Kona a lot of them have one by, but in Nice they had the two by.
Yeah.
And then anything
Yeah,
else?
this course is definitely more suited for one by, because like these days, the 12-speed cassettes in the back, the range is pretty good, so you can have a one by and you don't have to worry about switching the gears in the front, just shifting in the back. So it's definitely more suited. The the course is hilly in terms of how you collect the total elevation gain,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing is steep. The steepest climb is in Kiowa High when you come back from Hawaii and climb back to Queen K, and it's short, like a less than a mile, kind of steeper, but that's about it. Everything else is just kind of like those, 4%, if that. The wind makes it feel like sometimes it's harder climb, but
Mm-hmm.
these guys, they are just, it's a different league, and they can get away with it for
Yeah.
sure. In Nice is different story, because the climb, it's steeper, it's typical Alpen climb, and you wouldn't be able to stay fluid on the bike, and
Mm-hmm.
keep the cadence in the good range using just one by, unless you would have some silly cassette in the back. There's a big difference in the ratio, but then you're kind of missing for the gears in the middle. You want to have
Mm-hmm.
a smooth steps when you shift to the harder, easier gear, and not just big jumps. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably the biggest difference here. That most of the guys here will be on the one by, versus in Nice, most of the ladies were on two by.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were shopping for two by a few days before the race.
Yeah. And how about tire pressure with it being so hot and the heat of
Yeah,
the tarmac and then the speeds and the tires that they're using? Can you
yeah.
explain
So
any of that?
in general, like I said, the tires are getting wider, the rims are getting wider. So we are riding lower pressure. So, and generally speaking, it's definitely it's lower pressure, and doesn't really when you run a proper tubeless setup, when it's set up right, you don't have to worry about blowing the tire in the transition. Even now, when people are checking in the bikes, it's already happening. Uh, you can just you kind of pump it up, and even if you like overdo it today, thinking that it'll lose a little bit of the pressure overnight and in the morning. So let's say that you pump it up to 80 psi, you lose a little bit of the pressure, the bike is still good for the morning. And also, it's like the tire can withstand 120 psi if you want to. So if you think about it, you pump it up to 80, and with the heat it expands to, let's say, 120 or even 130, but there's no tube to pop inside. So again, it needs to be proper setup. You don't want to do it today. Let's say somebody's, I need to set up my tires tubeless. Don't do that, because then it's not seated. It doesn't have a chance to be seated properly. That's when it can pop, because it's not done right. So it
Mm-hmm.
needs to be set up properly. You need to test it. You need to be riding on it for several days, make sure it's all good. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's kind of like the new luxury that you really, you don't even need a pump in the morning. You just kind
Mm-hmm.
of, if you don't have a chance to check the tire pressure in the morning, you don't need to, because it'll be fine. And with a lower tire pressure, it really depends on the rider's weight, the bike weight, the surface that you are riding on, the tire and the rim width. Because you can have a same tire and put on 5 different rims, and the tire will blow up to different specs.
Mm-hmm.
So just because the tire says 28, which kind of like that's the new standard, it doesn't mean that the tire measures 28.
Mm-hmm.
On one rim it can be 27 and a half. On another rim it can be 30.
Mm-hmm.
So it's measured with, and there are places like Silka tire pressure calculator. You can just Google it, Silka tire pressure calculator, and you just keep filling up the numbers and what they ask you for, and you can figure out the pressure for yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
for like, you've been riding on your road bike, you have 28 tires on rim that has 25 mil width, inner width, and the tire blows up to 30, and you've been riding at 55 psi. You can
Mm-hmm.
easily go lower,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fast, it's smooth, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
So gone are the days when people are pumping it up to plus 80, 90, 100 or more. It's
Yeah.
just, if you do it, and then you are living in the past.
Yeah.
Doesn't
And
do
I
anything good for you.
just want to mention too, for anybody who pumps their tires on race day morning, just be mindful that the pumps that Ironman provide, every pump is different, and the
Mm-hmm.
gauge may be off by
Yeah.
10 or 20. So you just have to really plan ahead with those things. Do you trust yourself that you know that you pumped your
Yeah.
tire and you don't need
You
a
can
second?
always have, if you, let's say, if you use a tire pressure gauge, digital gauge, Topic makes some that we use. You can bring it, it's a tiny little piece, so you can bring it with you and you can check it. So you can use whatever pump is there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care what it says. You don't check the same unit that you use at home, and you know that that's what you are relying on, and it'll read always the same.
Yeah, good advice. So let's talk about Ventum. We were with Ventum from the beginning. We were there, I think it was 2018 when they were.
No, we were not here. Oh yeah, 18, 19. Yeah, but the bike was before even we were here the first time in 2015. The
Yeah,
bike was around that time was introduced. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So when Ventum was there, they introduced their beam bike, and then they have the traditional road bike, but now they have a traditional tri bike. So can you talk about this new bike? Is there anything that you like or dislike about it?
Yeah. So actually, it's kind of as a matter of fact, I just met the owner and guy who started Ventum. Just met him today for lunch. Just kind of like randomly. I met in one of the pokey shops. So he was there, Lauren Brandon, and a few other guys from the Ventum. So we chatted, and he said that they want to come back to triathlon industry or triathlon business, just because they kind of lost a little bit of touch lately with the bikes, because although the bike was very controversial, it tested fast in the wind tunnel, but then it didn't always transfer the power and speed into the road, and just radical design, very controversial. So he said that their main focus now it's actually on gravel and the road, but they want to come back to a triathlon. They want to also come back with a better price point. So seeing that new bike, and I only saw it from the videos that are available online now. The bike is here on the island, but it's not in the booth. He said the bike will be available in like a springtime, but it looks like it's just a traditional looking super bike.
Mhm.
It has a big tire clearance, which is great, because we know that if there is a more clearance, the air, it's has a easier flow around the tires. What I really like about it, and actually then I went to the expo and talked to the guys from the Profile Design, which I have one of the dealers' accounts, so I can get anything from them, and I saw some new parts. I was like, so when these parts will be available? So they said also, a month or two, everything will be available, but they have a new handlebars, aero bars set up from the Profile Design, a lot of adjustability. These days, everybody's basically using extenders, so you're going higher and more forward with the cockpit. So again, gone are the days when everybody thought like I need to get lower, lower, lower to be more aero. No, you go higher and forward. You create more space. You can tuck in, hide behind the hands, and that's how you are gaining the aerodynamics. So one of the part of me wish that the new bikes kind of reflect on that and make the bikes a little bit longer and higher to begin with, but they also have to play by the UCI rules, most of them, and that's kind of what Dia said, that they also wanted to have a bike that is UCI legal. So then they are limited with what they can do with the bike frame design. So that's cyclists, they are limited by the UCI rules. Triathletes are not, so that's why you see triathletes ending up using all kinds of hardware, spacers, plates to extend it, get higher, more extended, more higher, more extended, more higher, and
Yeah.
that's how you ended up with those positions. So yeah, the bike looks pretty cool. Again, I didn't touch it. I don't know, don't have personal experience because it's just not there. It's here, but it's still kind of hidden. It's just kind of like show bits and pieces in the videos, and the bike will be available in the spring.
Yeah.
Hi, Sunny.
He wants to be part of this. This is his first chat. Um, Factor and Pinarello looks like they're getting into the triathlon space. What do you think about these bikes?
Um, so I mean, they've been here. It's not like the first time they're getting into the triathlon space. They've been here. Pinarello, it's always very expensive bike, and even like so, they basically have two versions of the Bolide the triathlon version. One of them that it's like silly expensive, and the other one that it's a little bit more affordable, but it's still pretty expensive bike. I mean, I like those bikes. They look cool. Nothing that would be like too spectacular and different and radical. Just good looking bike. Factor, I actually really like the Factor. It again has a big tire clearance. Looks clean, very clean, aerodynamic. The one kind of like weird thing about a Factor Hanzo, which is their triathlon bike, it doesn't have a bosses on the top tube to even put a bento box there.
Mm.
And it's kind of like, why not?
Hmm.
And of course it's a bike that is also used illegal, so you can use it as a tri bike, but I mean as a TT bike, but that doesn't stop you from putting those bosses there, so you can actually put the bento box on the top. So it's kind of
Hmm.
like it's a bike that has no storage whatsoever,
Mm.
and that's something like they should think about and change if they want to continue going. Like the bike, it's really really nice and very clean. Just
Yeah.
doesn't have any ability. Like if you want to put a bento box, you have to put freaking Velcro around the top tube.
Hmm. Hmm. Are there any other bikes that aren't very well known that you like any brands that aren't like the Cervelo and the um,
Canyons, right? That's kind
Canyons
of
and
like that.
those?
Um, I mean, yeah, the Factor will be probably one of the bikes that I really, really like, except that one little detail. It's just
Hmm.
kind of like, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
But I really, really like it. So that probably be there's a few other bikes that are not my favorite. One of them is the one that Blumenfeld rides. The KDX is just, to me, it's just hideous, but it depends on everybody's taste. If you like the type of the thing, it's great. Just for me, I just don't like it. And then of course the Coup bike, although it tests like fast and all, it just looks so weird. And after even experience you know the years with Ventum, which was different bike and radical bike, I just kind of now like the look of those more traditional looking bikes, triangle shape and all that. So uh, you can definitely see a lot more Kenyans here than anywhere else, and it's just because a lot of Europeans are here. Because everybody wants Kenyan bike, and for some reason, it's really difficult to get. You go on a Kenyan website, you can't buy anything.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get in the United States. A little bit easier in Europe. So and you see a lot of Kenyan bikes here. Yeah.
Are you surprised there aren't more cube bikes with Lucy Charles?
Yeah, you don't see that, but that often. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an article that
That's
I
down, but
think
yeah.
Slow Twitch put out, like that they're still the main contenders with women, even
Hmm.
though one of the most prominent figures, Lucy Charles, rides a cube bike.
Yeah. I think yeah, it's kind of like who who are your idols, and
Hmm.
who like impact you in terms of like you know how you make the decision when shopping for the bikes and stuff. So like here everybody's you know looking up to still Jan Frodeno. He was on the Kenyan bike. Now Sam Laidlow is on the Kenyan bike. Lang is on the Kenyan bike. So like the how many past world champion titles were won on Kenyan bike?
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about the Norwegians with their stretched position. Anything else you want to mention about that? You think there's going to be a bunch of age groupers tomorrow that are going to have a stretched position?
I don't think tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure we'll see it. In Ironman Florida, just because they still have time. It's still another 2 weeks
Yeah.
or so or week or so. So and definitely we'll see it more next year.
Yeah.
Including those 2 bottles and all kinds of
Yeah.
things.
So something was illegal on Magnus's bike. Do you know what it was?
No, nobody knows. He didn't want to talk about it. He's just said that there was something super light. They would turn heads and surprise many people, and Ironman didn't approve it. So I really don't know what it could be, just because there is no rule that would prevent, a certain type of the bike. The only rules that they have that you cannot use any of these kind of like the duct tape type things, and something that it's not really structurally made. So I don't know if it was something that they kind of made up. It wasn't like a manufactured. It was
Yeah.
just kind of like made up. Who knows? But he said he hopes to be approved for next year or next time. So we'll see.
Yeah. That's cool though.
I'm pretty sure it'll leak onto the slow twitch, because somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who was at that committee of the Ironman and make the
Yeah.
decision. And
Yeah. Okay. Um, so we've touched on the bottle placement. We talked about the chain rings. One thing I want to talk about or ask you about is wheel depth. I think that's something that a lot of athletes think that the deeper the wheel, the faster the wheel. But also in these conditions where it could be windy, about the front wheel. Can you just kind of talk
yeah,
about that?
yeah. I mean, just because the wheel tests fast in the wind tunnel doesn't mean it's the fastest wheel for you. The fastest wheel for you is the wheel that you can keep in the straight line and cover the least distance. So if you're constantly using your strength to keep the bike straight, and wasting this energy and just kind of
Mhm.
zigzagging instead of going straight, then it's not fast wheel for you. And it always just kind of blows my mind when I do the bike fits and I have somebody who is like a not a skilled person, or small, lighter, small statue, a guy or girl, and they have these huge rims, and especially in the front. Like, you can get away with almost anything on the rear, but the front wheel, that's what affects really the handling. So as you know, like, you never rode anything bigger than 60 mil in the front. Now
Mhm.
you have 55, and it's kind of the wheel of choice for anything. You ride the disc wheel in the back, but the front wheel is 55 because it helps handling. A lot of times, when we were kind of chatting, I said maybe you can use one of the front wheels that we have at home. That's 85, and he said, well, if it's anything more than that, I don't like the feel, and that's true.
Mhm.
So you only use what is fast for you, not just because it tested in the wind tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, last question here. If anybody, any of the male professionals, if you could take any one of their bikes and that would be your bike for all of next year, which professional has the favorite bike?
Hmm. So I really like, just because it's such a cool looking bike, is what Sam Laidlow has. But like that particular bike with his paint job and his markings and stuff, it looks so cool.
Yeah.
But
I heard they have like copper on the.
yeah, so yeah, his aero bars, and again you can see it on the in one of those videos. So they make these custom, completely closed aero bars, but because it's closed, it's also creating more heat. For his arms when he rides in this super hot and humid conditions. So they layer with it copper that can like move the heat away from the carbon, because carbon gets hot in the heat condition. So they kind of like, it moves the heat away, and then they put a special layer padding that can cool or make you feel cool if it in the combination with moist or wet water, sweat, and the wind is blowing here. So he basically will have his own cooling device on the bike when he's riding in aero bars.
Wow. That's
That's
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah,
Sam, you're going to take Sam Laidlow's bike when he's done,
yeah.
and you're not going to take Blumenfeld's
Make it smaller so it can fit me.
and not going to take
Yeah,
Blumenfeld's bike.
yeah. Another kind of like a just off topic is oh, not off topic, but interesting is that Sam Laidlow has 165 crank arms. He's a pretty tall guy, and that I've been preaching the short crank arms, and I was doing fits like 5 years ago. And so just think about it. How tall is he? How well he's riding? It's just such a more economical pedal stroke, and especially when you're riding these big gears that they are riding, he can like apply the power, more efficiently on the backside of the stroke. So but the, the best piece on this is that if you think about his seat height ratio, how long it is, because he has long legs. So for him, those 165s are if like I would be riding 140s. Just
Hmm.
think about it for a moment.
Hmm.
You know?
Wow. Incredible. Wow. Well, that's all very fascinating. I guess just the last few things. I don't know if there's going to be any new technology on the swim, but I did see that Roca has a new swim skin and that Magnus will be in a white Roca swim
Yeah,
skin.
yeah. So, and actually, they were at a pier yesterday when we were swimming. I just didn't want to like go through the hustle and like rented it and tested it, but people could test it, the new swim skins, and so they talk about some of the new features and all that. But it's still kind of like just a new version of the same swim skin that they've been doing. But for Magnus, they have something new, and it's white, and it's not going to be in the production,
Hmm.
not yet. It may be
Interesting.
something that it's in the making for the years, but they kind of skip a few years to have to give it to Magnus.
Hmm. Interesting. Hmm. And I'm not sure if that's
Another like
a thing,
another brand that it's here but not, it's Selfish. We actually did a swim with them, and it's Jan Sieberson's company. Jan Sieberson is the guy who owns the fastest swim time here in Kona. He
but
managed to do it when he was age grouper. But he used to race professional. He used to had that record, and somebody else took it. And then he did it when we were here
yeah,
in was it 2018 or something,
yeah.
and
And
he
there is a
just smashed it.
professional that wants to break it. So that's something that might happen tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, the Selfish, they have also like really good stuff, and like their swim skins are nice but different. Like Roca, they say that they want their swim skin that it needs to be firm, so that's why it's not stretchy. They only like they get a little bit more stretchy around the shoulders.
You have fireworks in your background.
Wow, nice. I guess that was the boom. Cool. But yeah, so Rocas are more like stiff, and they want it to be stiff, so you have like a firm core, while the Selfish are a lot more stretchier. Like you
Hmm.
can stretch it, but it's both of them have the like the hydro whatever material that you just basically pour the water on, and just it just doesn't stay on it.
And you also tried out the form goggles with the
Yeah,
navigation,
yeah, that was big. So I tried it before in the pool. It wasn't my cup of tea, and I really didn't like the way how they felt, and also just like if you have to start focusing on what you see on that screen, you kind of forget how you swim and forget about the swimming. So that was kind of distracting. But I wanted to try it here for their new open water feature, which basically is a compass. So you kind of look where you want to go, and there's a compass with a like an arrow and the number, so you remember the number, so that as you swim you just shoot for the same number, and you know that you are swimming the direction that you need to be swimming, which is cool, right? So I wanted to try it, but oh my gosh, it was such a disaster. The for me, for my face, they just don't fit. No matter how much I tried to adjust it, it just won't fit, and it kept leaking. And then like I all I could focus on was how my eye is burning from the salt water. So a huge letdown. Then it started fogging. I could not see anything, not even the number inside of the goggles. So yeah, it's cool if it fits you, and if you like this type of the things and your vision is great. I don't think it's for everybody. So you see and hear a lot how some people keep like coaches and people who like basically were approached by the company, and they try to sell the pairs, and they try to tell people, oh, you need to be wearing it, and we never do anything like that. It's just like if it fits you, if you like it, if it's something that we believe that can help you, sure, we'll promote it. But no, not this.
yeah. And I didn't ask you about helmets. Is there anything new with the helmets?
Well, you definitely don't see those alien helmets like you could see in the Tour de France, like
Uh-huh.
the Giro, and
I know here having more vents is very important, but
yeah,
not
the
everybody is
guys will
gonna.
still use the aero helmets,
Mhm.
but even those are, they are well designed. And, one of the things that you may see will be interesting tomorrow, that maybe some guys will not use the visors, but will use the sunglasses. So it's a little bit more airflow there on
Mhm.
your face, and it's easier to pour the water there. So that
Mhm.
might be something that we may see. But yeah, all the top guys are like the times when Crowe won the Ironman World Championship here using the road helmet, or Christy Wellington, those days are over.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for like the average age grouper, I don't think it's too much of like, you're not losing anything if you would use a good solid road aero helmet.
Yeah.
That has a little bit more vents and it's easier to
Mhm.
cool yourself with water. So
Yeah.
you just again don't get swinged by what the trend is, but what's practical.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last thing, running shoes. I know On has a shoe that Paula was wearing and that you just kind of almost slide your
Yeah,
foot in.
no laces and stuff. Well, the shoe is not released yet, so I know that Christian will be using it. I'm not sure if Eden too or not, but there may be some pros that will have this shoe, but it's not released to public yet.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was listening to Pro Tri News when I was doing a run this morning, and they were talking about how Magnus has his Nikes from 4 years ago, and that's the only thing that he likes. But it's kind of interesting because when they make these shoes, they're making them for a specific type of runner, and Magnus is not that specific type of runner, but he found a shoe that works for him. Just
Yeah,
like for me, for so long, I loved the New Balance Fuel Cell, and that's all I wanted to wear was that one version of it, and then I
yeah,
got used to a different one, but that was kind of interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to tomorrow to see the race in person. Although I know that you will not really get the same kind of like, you will not be in the loop of what's really happening because you're in one spot at a time and you see bits and pieces of the race. So then I will actually want to rewatch the race later, and just be able to see like how the race unfold, what
Yeah.
actually happened. Because
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
see pieces, I will see who is leading, who's not, and but you don't see the dynamics when you are in
Yeah.
person. They will have some big screens by the piers. I can watch a little bit there, but yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Usually the day just it's kind of chaotic.
Yeah. So who's your top three?
I I don't really I didn't think about it. Didn't really make any bets and like that. I just think that Patrick Lange will surprise many because he's the guy who he won here twice. He was on the podium 3 times. He can perform on this island and nobody talks about him. Everybody just kind of skips through him. Like it's all about Laidlow, Ditlev, and the Norwegians or Christian. So I think that Patrick Lange will surprise many.
Yeah.
And if I could have somebody that I want to win, it'll be between Ditlev and Laidlow. Just kind of stick it into Norwegians for the method.
It's going to be a very exciting race.
Yeah, and of course tomorrow there will be probably some bummer situations that somebody will get a flat tire, somebody will get a mechanical, or somebody will get a penalty, and the race will be all different.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of racing.
It's I just wish that they would have something similar to like the games, like hockey and football, that any situation can be reviewed.
Yeah.
So like how difficult it is to have a GoPro camera on that motorbike of the referee, and as the referee is approaching athlete, that they see a situation that they want to assess and give penalty. It should be recorded. There
Yeah.
should be somebody who can review it and they can make a decision. It's not
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
Because many
Good.
people's races are ruined, many people's careers are ruined, especially on this scale here on
Yeah.
this island,
Yeah.
by giving a penalty that maybe wasn't fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So we will see. All right. Well, thanks so much for your knowledge and great conversation.
Observing.
All right. Well, wish Roman good luck.
All
All
right.
right. Bye.
Cheers. Aloha.
Okay.